Many Palestinians have been freed as well. But now, some of the remains of the Israeli hostages are still in Gaza. Syria. The Syrian President Ahmed al-Shara visited Moscow, met with the Russian leader Vladimir Putin, and a new Russian-Syrian dynamic is in the making. This comes after almost a year of ousting Bashar al-Assad. In Turkey, Ankara is racing to remake its Air Force stealth programs and options, but all this is also challenged by the risk of American sanctions and supply shortages. Now, Turkey is betting big on tech, access, and diplomacy. All this is lined up, but first, the headlines. Many of the Palestinians have been freed, and all the living Israeli hostages have been returned to Israel. Hamas have returned some of the remains of the dead Israeli hostages, but still many are in Gaza. Now the bottleneck is finding the dead and verifying the identities, especially the thousands of Palestinians, of the dead Palestinians are still under the rubble. Now this stage is testing the ceasefire and how it would play off in the following days. Here's our report.
All living hostages are back home. That part of the ceasefire agreement is over, but the battle is shifting to a far more haunting front. The standoff now isn't over the living, it's over the remains of dead hostages. Hamas has handed over the remains of several hostages, but many more are still believed to be lying beneath the ruins of Gaza. Israel says dozens of bodies remain unaccounted for, hostages who were killed during 2 years of war in Gaza. Hamas claims it has already returned all the remains it could recover, but Israeli officials insist that is not enough. The reality on the ground is brutal. Entire neighborhoods are leveled. Rubble is everywhere. Officials from the International Committee of the Red Cross say this is a massive undertaking, one that requires heavy machinery, technical teams, and days, if not weeks, to complete. Bodies are trapped under collapsed buildings. Many are intermingled with thousands of dead Palestinians, making identification slow and complex.
There is clear indication that this might take much more time because of the difficulty to find the human remains in Gaza in particular. That's the case for the human remains of hostages, but in general, human remains, as we've discussed before, that may be under the rubble, considering the intensity of the conflict over the last days, particularly in Gaza City. Now, are they in Gaza City? Are they in the south of the Gaza Strip? Are they in the middle of the Gaza Strip? These are information that we don't have.
2 more bodies were returned to Israel on Wednesday. That brought the total number of bodies returned to 9. But before the deal, Israel believed 28 hostage remains were still inside Gaza. That means this phase has only just begun. It is also a phase loaded with tension. Israeli officials are warning Hamas that if the terms of the ceasefire, including the return of all hostage remains, are not fully met, military operations could resume. Hamas, on the other hand, is accusing Israel of violating the ceasefire already. Dozens of Palestinians have been killed since the truce took effect. Israel claims these were responses to security threats. This is where the ceasefire is at its most fragile. When hostages were being freed alive, both sides had a powerful incentive to keep talks going. Now, with only the dead left, the political urgency is different, but the emotional weight is even greater. For Israeli families, these remains are their final link to loved ones lost. For Hamas, it is the only remaining leverage. The Palestinian group has also accused Israel of blocking entry of tools and equipment, without which bodies cannot be recovered from under the rubble, nor can they be identified. International mediators, including the United States, Qatar, Egypt and Türkiye, are scrambling to keep this delicate balance intact. Turkish disaster response teams have been allowed into Gaza to help clear rubble and aid recovery efforts. DNA teams and forensic experts are also being deployed to speed up identification and avoid disputes like the one earlier this week when Israel received a body which they said was not of a hostage. But this is more than just a technical operation. Every handover is a calculated move. Every delay risks reigniting a war that has only paused, not ended. Both sides are already testing the edges of the ceasefire, accusing each other of violations while trying to claim the moral high ground. And beyond the immediate question of remains loom even bigger questions. Who will govern Gaza after this? Who will rebuild it? And what role will Hamas play in any political future of the Strip? These questions are being discussed behind closed doors in Doha, Cairo, and Washington. But their answers may depend on whether peace holds or fractures under the weight of these bodies still buried in the ground. This is the defining test of the ceasefire, and it is only just beginning.
A no-show that speaks louder than words. Saudi and Emirati rulers skip the summit, the peace summit in Sharm el-Sheikh. Now Donald Trump's mega ceasefire showcase in Sharm el-Sheikh brews a rift in the region. We tell you more in this report.
Gaza faces unprecedented destruction and humanitarian crisis. The Gazans are slowly returning to these ruins. Hope, like light, flickers and fades. And yet in the air-conditioned halls of diplomacy, Arab unity failed its biggest test. Egypt's ceasefire summit was intended as a powerful West Asian showcase of unity. The no-show of Saudi and Emirati rulers speaks louder than any diplomatic statement, revealing a deep, accelerating fracture in the Arab world. While Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi attempted to project regional consensus on a Gaza ceasefire.
Today, Egypt and its Arab and Islamic allies confirm that peace remains our strategic choice and that experience over the past decades has proven that this choice can only be based on justice and equality of rights.
But the most powerful players were conspicuously absent. The Saudi king and the UAE president sent mere diplomatic underlings. A calculated, brutal snub that ripped the facade of Arab solidarity wide open. This strategic cold shoulder points directly to the biggest geopolitical mirage. The so-called peace plan spearheaded by the Trump administration managed to bring a ceasefire but fails to give a guarantee for lasting peace. Experts say that without the crucial absolute guarantee of Palestinian statehood, a non-negotiable demand for true regional stability, any proposal is nothing more than a dangerous illusion.
I reaffirm our support and aspiration for the implementation of this plan, creating the political horizon necessary for the implementation of the two-state solution, as it is the only way to achieve the legitimate aspirations of the Palestinian and Israeli peoples to end the conflict and live in peace.
Trump's declaration for enduring peace and prosperity sounds grand, but without Palestinian statehood, it is political illusion shimmering over desert heat. Analysts call it what it is, a temporary access of convenience. Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Turkey and the US may work to stabilize Gaza, but none are tackling the core issue of freedom, sovereignty and justice for Palestinians. For now, it's about a halt in Israeli assault and release of hostages.
The bottom line is this really a peace deal, or is this only a hostage release deal plus a temporary ceasefire? It's still unclear, but I'm fearful that it's more the latter than the former.
This is no peace, just pause, a lull between rival visions, Egypt's nostalgic ambition, Saudi Arabia's modern dominance, and Trump's transactional diplomacy. West Asia today stands divided, its rulers jostling for prestige as Gaza bleeds beneath their shadow. The summit, meant to symbolize unity, has instead unmasked a reality the world now sees clearly as fractured pride, geopolitical rivalry, and a silence louder than words.
All eyes in West Asia are on the sky-high ambitions of Turkey, a country determined to reinvent its air force. All this as the United States weighs sanctions and the supply chains hang in balance. Ankara is dreaming of stealth programs and it's playing high-stake diplomacy. Take a look.
Türkiye is charting a bold course to transform its air power, a strategy that combines high-tech aspirations with renewed push to safeguard national interests and security. In the long run, Ankara wants fifth-generation stealth fighters. In the short to medium term, it needs enough 4.5-generation aircraft to avoid a capability gap. President Recep Tayyip Erdogan has made it clear he wants the US to lift the Katsa sanctions and resolve the F-35 Lightning II dispute that has shadowed Turkish defense policy since 2019. Türkiye was blocked from the F-35 program after buying the S-400 missile system from Russia, a move that triggered tough US retaliation. On September 25th, Erdogan met US President Donald Trump at the White House. Trump hinted he could lift sanctions and end the F-35 ban quickly. Despite the cordiality, there has been no breakthrough yet.
He wants the F-35, and he's wanted that, and we're talking about that very seriously. And the F-16, we're in great shape. Certain other things he needed, as you know, and I'm going to see to it that we get that to him. He needs certain things.
Türkiye originally planned to buy 100 F-35. That number is now 40. Defense Minister Yashar Guler claims the US reconsidered its position after seeing Türkiye's progress on its own indigenous stealth jet, the Thai TF Khan. But even Khan needs American muscle to get off the ground. The first batch of jets, expected by 2028, will rely on American-made General Electric F-110 engines, the same which power Türkiye's F-16. But Türkiye's plan faces a hitch. Katsa sanctions are blocking the license for those engines in the US Congress. Turkish officials insist development will continue regardless, and they aim to fit later batches with their own TF-35,000 engines by 2032, but that timeline makes foreign engines a short-term necessity and Washington's approval a critical variable. Behind the scenes, Ankara is hedging its bets. Türkiye ordered 40 F-16 Block 70 fighters, trimmed costs by scrapping modernization kits, and is upgrading its existing fleet under a domestic program called Osgur. It's also eyeing the Eurofighter Typhoon, seeking fast delivery as an interim solution, but there's a catch. Türkiye is reportedly unhappy with the UK's asking price for brand new Typhoons and may turn to Qatar to acquire 24 second-hand Tranche 3 jets, a move that could speed up deployment. Qatar, already a close defense partner, may well be willing to deal. For Türkiye, the strategy is clear: buy time with 4.5 generation fighters while betting big on stealth in the 2030s. Khan, with or without the F-35, is expected to become the spearhead of a modernized Turkish Air Force. As Ankara weighs each deal, each engine, and each delivery timeline, the future of its air power and its geopolitical leverage is being written, one fighter jet at a time. And if these ambitions materialize as envisioned, Türkiye could emerge in the next decade with one of the most formidable fighter fleets outside the West.
In a very big diplomatic move, Ahmad al-Shara, the new Syrian president, the transitional period president, has met Vladimir Putin. Now, a new Russian-Syrian dynamic is in the making, although tens of deals were already made between Syria and Russia, and al-Shara said they will remain the same. This comes after 10 months of ousting Bashar al-Assad. The next report brings you the details.
Syria's President Ahmed al-Shara stood shoulder to shoulder with Russian President Vladimir Putin, delivering a message that could reshape Damascus's foreign relations. Al-Shara, who arrived in Moscow on his first state visit since taking power, said he wants to restore and redefine relations with Moscow. A country that once backed his predecessor, Bashar al-Assad, and played a decisive role in Syria's civil war. Al-Shara is reportedly requesting Moscow to hand over al-Assad. The former Syrian president fled to Russia and has been in exile ever since. In Russia, Shara stressed that this new relationship must reflect Syria's sovereignty, territorial integrity, and security stability, while also reassuring Putin that Damascus will honor all existing agreements with Russia. Putin, in turn, told Shara that he's ready for stronger ties.
Many interesting and useful initiatives were voiced. From our side, we are ready to do everything to implement them, as well as regular contacts and agreements via foreign ministries. We are very glad to see you.
Putin, for his part, praised Syria's recent parliamentary elections, calling them a great success and a step towards consolidating the country's political forces. He highlighted the special relations between Moscow and Damascus, relations that stretch back decades, and expressed his desire to expand them further. For Syria, maintaining ties with Russia is not just a strategic choice, it's a survival imperative. From energy supplies to food security and military posturing, Moscow remains a critical partner, a nation which was considered a pariah state. Not so long is now mending ties with the rest of the world, including the West.
We discussed specific projects in energy and transport, as well as the development of tourism, healthcare, and culture. All of this will be discussed in detail, and we are ready to provide support and take part in Syria's reconstruction.
And for Russia, Syria still holds tactical value, with Russian air and naval bases entrenched along the Syrian coast, and strategic interests that Moscow has no intention of giving up. All eyes now turn to what happens next, whether this visit paves the way for a new era of pragmatic cooperation, or signals a delicate and dangerous power rebalance in West Asia.
A marriage revolution in the Gulf. You don't need a court, you don't need to wait in lines, and you don't need papers. It just takes a phone, a tap, and I do. Now, Abu Dhabi has rolled out its first of its kind digital service. You can marry online from anywhere in the world legally. Take a look.
What used to be one of the most formal, time-consuming, and bureaucratic processes in the Gulf has been turned into a matter of minutes. Abu Dhabi has just changed the way the world thinks about weddings. With the launch of a new digital marriage service on the TAM app, couples can now legally marry anytime, anywhere, on any device. The entire ceremony is hosted online, a licensed officiant, 2 witnesses, and the couple, all connecting virtually through WebEx. Even if the bride and groom are in different countries, they can say "I do" without stepping foot into any government office. And it doesn't end there. Guests can join in from around the world. Power of attorney options are built in for couples living abroad. Attestation can be completed automatically. All identities are verified through UAE Pass and Emirates ID. And most impressive of all, it can all be wrapped up in 24 hours. This isn't just a tech upgrade. This is a complete reimagining of how governments interact with people at some of life's biggest moments.
It's open for the whole people. Whoever want to get married in Abu Dhabi, regardless of their nationality, they can get to the service online. And as Tim is always presenting the experience to the customer as effort as possible.
Abu Dhabi is already known for pioneering smart government solutions. And now it's making history as one of the first places on earth to offer fully remote, legally recognized civil marriages to foreigners. This move also solidifies the UAE's unique position in the Gulf as the only country allowing non-religious marriages for foreigners. A decision that signals modernization, inclusion, and digital leadership. Officials say the idea is to make government services anticipatory, intelligent, and human-centered. Love and law have officially gone digital. In Abu Dhabi, saying "I do" now takes a click, not a line.
Now let's take a look at what else is making the headlines across West Asia.
A new type of off-road racing is making its debut in the deserts of Saudi Arabia. The Extreme H series features the world's first hydrogen-powered race cars. The racing cars are powered by hydrogen fuel cells that emit only water vapor. The system converts hydrogen into electricity, which charges a battery and drives twin electric motors, making these machines clean, powerful, and built for brutal terrain. The cars are heavier, about 500 to 600 kilos more than their electric predecessors, meaning drivers have to adjust technique, brake earlier, and fine-tune setups more precisely. Drivers say the new car is more agile and highly responsive. In Qiddiya, Jameel Motorsports' Kevin Hansen and Molly Taylor made history, winning the first ever FIA Extreme H World Cup final, a milestone moment for hydrogen-powered racing. Saudi Arabia national football team is heading to the World Cup. The Green Falcons booked their spot at the 2026 finals with a goalless draw against Iraq national football team in Jeddah, enough to top Group B and seal their 7th appearance at the global showpiece. In front of more than 60,000 fans, it was a tense, gritty game with chances hard to come by. Saleh Abu Al-Shamad came close twice, while Iraq had a late free kick saved by Nawafal Akidi. Iraq finished second and now face United Arab Emirates national football team in a playoff next month, while Qatar national football team also qualified after beating the UAE 2-1. Iraq is moving to cut its energy dependence on Iran. Prime Minister Mohammad Shia al-Sudani says Baghdad plans to end its $4 billion reliance on Iranian gas by 2028, tapping its own flared gas instead. Deals have been signed with Total Energies, Chinese and Emirati firms to turn wasted gas into electricity, a major step towards zero flaring. Iraq is balancing ties between Washington, Tehran, and Gulf partners as investment from Chevron, ExxonMobil, Mazda, and Qatari firms surges, but new sanctions on Iran could add pressure. With elections set for November 11th, al-Sudani is pushing economic and digital reforms to tackle youth unemployment and corruption. He calls it a turning point for Iraq's future.
That's all we have for you on this episode of the West Asia Post. I will see you next week with a brand new lineup, always bringing you the most recent updates, news, and ground reports from the world's most volatile region. I'm your host, Radi Francis, signing off from Lebanon. For more global news, on watching WION, World is One.
WION Health Resort is unique, the only one of its kind. Experience the 4 paths of natural wellness: yoga, Ayurveda, acupuncture, and naturopathy. Each uniquely customized program improves the whole person to make every person whole. Come to WION Health Resort. Make your reservation at WION.com.
This Diwali week, in the spirit of illumination and discovery, we're exploring a house at the bottom of the ocean. We're boarding a ship to Antarctica. We're taking a ride on hydrogen-powered race cars. We're discovering hidden secrets that lie beneath layers of paint on Caravaggio's paintings. And we're taking a virtual tour of browsers powered by AI. All this and more on Tech It Out, only on WION at these times.
As people across the world celebrate the Festival of Lights, we get you a list of movies you can watch this Diwali season, along with a festive style guide that you can take cues from. Also know all about Hayao Miyazaki's timeless films of Ghibli universe. All this and much more with me, Diksha Bisla, on WION at these times.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening, as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all the